now tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Nope. Perfect timing. Look at this.
Big news. I have some important news for you. Interesting news.
It's Blake and Darren's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
Cayman's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
And Sandy, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Blake. How are you? Blake, good morning, Aaron. Good morning, good morning. How are you?
Oh, by myself.
Solo.
It is the last day of hurricane season, so that's nice.
Yay.
Right? We got that. We're moving forward with that.
That's a lot for us to be thankful for. That's why we have our Thanksgiving when we do.
Is that okay?
Celebrating it earlier because we want to celebrate it after what has hopefully been a good year in terms of no hurricanes to really speak of. So we didn't have any hurricanes, but I got to tell you, this is the first time that I can remember.
Did we really not?
Storm doing as much damage as the tropical storms that we had.
Thank you. I know it said tropical. Anyway.
Yeah, it was obviously a very strong tropical storm. So listen, years ago when I first moved back, we'd have like a Cat 3. And I was like, oh, this isn't a big deal, a Cat 1. I'm like, oh, that's a party. after seeing that tropical storm last year, I'm like, maybe there really is something going on with global warming, because I swear that tropical storm was worse than what some Cat 3s in the past have done. Of course, proximity, how close the storm is, the direction, all those things really do matter. And
Yeah.
I think that storm was pretty much a direct hit in any event.
I mean, yeah, it might have been that kind of thing. Or, I don't know. I find that I get a little bit more precautious about all that now that I'm a mom.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like, I don't know. But yeah, no, it seemed pretty hectic outside when I was watching part of my roof fly off and impale into the palm tree next door.
Yeah. Crazy.
Anyways, besides that, let's see here. What else do you have going on today?
Well, we have had our 5th COVID-related death, and I put that in big quotations, reported. And so, again, this was someone who had some really serious comorbidities. I understand that he was on dialysis for a number of years, so his system would have obviously been quite compromised, but they're still counting it because he was unvaccinated, and when he died, he was COVID positive. So, so that's making news this morning. We also have, everyone is obviously still watching any little development with the new variant, around the world. I think the President of the United States made a statement yesterday saying that Omicron is a variant of concern, but not a variant or need to panic quite yet. So we're all very much paying attention to that. The 2022 public holidays haven't been announced, and we are getting one additional public holiday thanks to the Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebration. So lots of things to celebrate there. It looks like we lost Erin for some reason. The connection dropped in her end. I saw her frozen. I thought to myself, Erin could not be sitting still for that long without making a comment on the news. So I think she just, her connection froze. It happens, folks. Modern technology. So what else is trending? We have Barbados becoming a republic at midnight last night. So congratulations to all of the people from Barbados, Barbadians, or they also call themselves Bajans. I don't know that it makes a difference which one you call them as far as they're concerned. Barbadians or Bajans, right? So congratulations to them. We'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. We got some scammer alerts, always people trying to scam people. And so we're going to be talking about that as well. I don't know if Erin's internet dropped out completely because I'm trying to WhatsApp her. And we're getting no response. So, and then we're going to talk a little bit on the show about turtle meat poisoning. I have never heard of such a thing. So I'm going to definitely need your help with that one because that one is so incredibly weird. Catherine, good morning. Thank you for tuning in. Nina is here. I'm looking at the chickens. Oh yeah, she says, looks like their Wi-Fi just dropped out. Ooh, okay. Well, I guess we'll do that next year. Tomorrow, next year. I'm already in 2022. Nina, good morning. Good morning to Larry. Good morning to Joy. Louis has got it locked. Top of the morning to you, Louis. Light snowfall last night, accumulating an inch fresh snow for you ski buffs. Well, if you're a ski buff and you're stuck in the Cayman Islands, it's probably not where you want to be. So sorry. Yes. What else have we got going on? Oh, by the way, Louis always sends me the best photos. Louis, do you take these photos with your phone camera? Because they're really, really good. So Louis sent me a photo of a CMR mug in the snow. It's a profile photo for today's show, but let me see if I can find the full photo and show you guys because it's like super cute. Someone actually sent me one of us in the Panama Canal the other day. Did I show you guys that one? I thought that was so cool. So here's the Panama Canal shot. This cold hard truth in the Panama Canal. I'm going to post that one up on the website a little bit later on. And then the one that Louis sent me, oh, here it is. This is so cool for Christmas. I almost feel like this should be our, hey, look at that. Isn't that cute? I feel like that should be turned into our profile picture for Christmas or something. Maybe I'll have the guys design something around this idea because I think that is so cool. Love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you, Louis. Always send me wide angle photos so that they take up the full screen. There's a tip for you. But yeah, these photos are always fantastic. So Louis is getting some snow there in Detroit. Marshall, good morning. Anything going on in North Carolina? I'm guessing no snow. Felicia, good morning to you. Olivia, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Louis says it's 35 degrees as a high today. Oh no, 35 degrees and the high will be 43. Yeah. You know, you need the right combination, not just temperature, in order for it to snow, because we would have those temperatures in Florida all the time, but we never really had any snow in Tampa. We'd get frost. So some mornings you'd get up in the morning, you were so excited to see frost, like on the trees and little icicles, like it would freeze over all the citrus trees. Good morning to Miss Anne Marie. Wee Wee's got it locked. Wee Wee, we missed you yesterday. Where were you? Larry says it's 32 degrees in New York. Any snow? Jessica, good morning. Diamond Princess is here. Sonia's here. And of course, Miss C is here with her hot cocoa tea. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. 141 of you. So we're going to get the show started this morning. So unfortunately, last night, I had all good intentions of going to bed early. In fact, I fell asleep early. So that was a good sign. And when I got up, you know how you're like, okay, just go to bed, just go to bed. That's the thing to do right now. Just go straight to bed. And of course, my brain is like, just go and check your messages. Because you just, you know, news, something's always going on. So I came to check my messages, and lo and behold, I checked my messages. And of course, there was work to be done. So let this be a lesson for you. Never check your messages. Just leave the messages alone. I'm trying to, by the way, doing something new with my emails. I'm trying to set up my email port. You know how you've got the server settings, the port settings. I'm trying to do all that while I'm talking to you guys at the same time so that I can actually receive emails today. So just a little internal different setup. And I'm trying to see if I can do it with myself, because I think it should be relatively easy without having to call hubby and be like, hey, Mr. IT man, can you do this for me? Like I asked him to do a lot of stuff that I could do myself. But, you know, when you know you have someone who can do it for you, you're kind of like, why not? So I think I got this right. Okay. SSL port, you put the port number in. Okay, I think I saw the error of my ways. We could not connect to the incoming server. You know what? It's not saving the server details. That's why. So I think in this case, you got to delete it and re-add it. Okay. I probably will have him do that. So yeah, so last night I was all about that let's go to bed early kind of life. And I thought, yeah, let's get it. And good intentions. Oh, have I done it correctly? Now let's see if I can receive any emails. That's the kicker, right? If I can receive emails, then it has worked. Oh, I got emails. Guess what? I did that all by myself. Perfect. So now I can do the other emails. You see? Sometimes you just underestimate your capabilities. So now I shall go and do the other ones. Okay. Easy enough. Right. So as I was saying, I had all good intentions last night of actually going to bed at a relatively decent hour. And then I checked my emails, and then it all went to hell in a handbasket, as they say. So I didn't go to bed at a decent hour. In fact, what ended up happening is I saw that, this gentleman had passed away. And I thought to myself, oh, yeah, it's really not. I got to be honest with you. I mean, obviously, to his family, so my condolences to his family. I think he's originally from Nicaragua, but I understand he's been in Cayman a really long time. Obviously, it's devastating news for them to have lost their loved one. But in the circumstances, given how gravely ill he was, I understand that he was on dialysis for many, many years. It shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that he passed away, especially, if COVID might have accelerated the situation just a little bit. So 465. Yes, I need to change this one. So yes, and it is what it is, folks. I think we all need to now be cognizant and aware of the fact that at the end of the day, these things are going to be part of what we've got to live with, in the sense that, if you have comorbidities and you catch COVID, that's why, again, if you fall into that category, you're the ones, folks, who, and, I include myself in this number, because I don't have any comorbidities in the sense of like, thankfully, not, knock on wood, not diabetic or anything like that yet. I say that because we do have a history of diabetes in the family, and I know that my diet is probably, unfortunately, heading me down that road. But 50 by 50, I'm going to get on track here, folks. So yeah, we know you're overweight. Somebody said to me the other day, "Oh, I'm a little bit chunky, or carrying a few extra pounds." And I looked at them. Well, I was talking to them on the phone. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to be honest. I think we're having a WhatsApp conversation. So I was sending a voice note. I said, listen, honesty is so important. And I know we all like to think of ourselves as, oh, we're curvy. Caribbean people. Oh, I'm curvy. I look good. Listen, I'm fat, and you're probably fat if you're calling yourself curvy. Okay. And it doesn't mean that skinny people are any healthier, because I see some super skinny people. They just have a really good metabolism that keeps them skinny, and the fat, you don't see the fat bulging out yet, but what they eat and the diet that they eat, I'm like, oh, you're a fat person on the inside. Like you were, the diet that you have is all, the things that you eat don't make you any healthier. So I'm not necessarily saying that every skinny person is healthy and every overweight person, to put it politically correct, is unhealthy, but normally they kind of do go a little bit more closer to being hand in hand, right? So I said to the person, I said, you might want to call yourself a few pounds overweight. But I said, I'm going to be honest, because the only way that I can address what I need to address is if I'm honest with myself, right? So if I say, yes, I am actually overweight, and yeah, we need to do something about that. So all of these things are actually comorbidities. So what that means is if you suffer from any of those things, you have an increased chance, without a doubt, of, of actually causing yourself some additional headaches when it comes to COVID. And so, you should get vaccinated. And I think by now that the numbers have proven, even locally, that if you're vaccinated, your chances of being hospitalized are less, 5 times less, according to the statistics. Your chances of getting seriously sick are like 10 times plus less. And your chances of dying are significantly less as well. So, that this is a numbers game, folks. And with this new variant, somebody was showing me something yesterday, a story that came out that said, once again, the unvaccinated people are driving the emergence of these new variants. And they never, listen, unvaccinated people are in such a state of denial that they never want to admit their role to anything. Like they will not even read an article about how unvaccinated people are actually driving the numbers. They just don't want to see it. And so when you show them an article like this, they're simply not going to read it because they want to believe what they want to believe. And their belief system is, well, if everybody can catch it, how can you blame it on the unvaccinated people? And again, if you understood the science and you cared to understand the science, you would read the articles and then you'd understand that, okay, this isn't quite how that works. That's your way of thinking. But the science, and I mean, it's actually quite logical, I must say, in terms of how it works, doesn't speak to that. So it is very, very difficult to get through to them because they're caught in what I kind of think is a broken record, where they figure, okay, they keep saying the same thing over and over again, and somehow that's going to make it true. And it doesn't make it true. So anyway, condolences to his family. This morning they're going to be all over the bandwagon. Oh, but he didn't die of COVID. We get it. He had serious comorbidities, folks. But when he died, he had COVID, okay? And he was unvaccinated. So on the list of things, it might be number 3 or 4, but it will say COVID-19 as a death-related, okay? Odette, good morning to you. Evelyn has got it locked here. Did I say good morning to Evelyn already? I feel like I did. Yes, I believe I did. Take the baby to the doctor. Which baby? Which baby? What baby are we talking about? By the way, my baby is still sleeping. She hardly sleeps in, so she must really be tired today. She did stay up later than she should have last night. I kept telling her because she's still out of school. So she's still waiting till day 14. She's actually fine. She hasn't had any, she had a little bit of cough initially and a little bit of nasal congestion almost. But, she's still got to wait her 14 days before she can get her PCR test. I'm not looking forward to that, I got to tell you. For a 5-year-old, giving them a PCR test is not fun. She's only ever done one, and she probably kind of remembers it because it wasn't that long ago. So she's still sleeping because she was up all kind of hours last night. And I kept saying to her, you got to get to bed, although you're out of school this week. She's still doing schoolwork during the day. She's doing her Zoom classes. I'm like, you still got to get to bed at a decent hour. Because when school starts back next week and you got to be out the door at 7:00 with daddy, that's going to be a fight in her hands. And of course, she's running around all day and, she's not getting as much probably outdoor playtime when she's at home as she does at school. So I'm sure that's not making her as tired. And she seems to have a lot of energy. Can I just say a big shout out to all the teachers in their lives? Because they take your little ones or your not so little ones for a full day and they tolerate them and they teach them and they, teachers are just amazing. Because listen, if most of us had to teach our own children and be with our own children during the day, I can assure you we would be pulling our hairs out because they can be a little bit extra special. So big shout out to all of the teachers out there who really, do such a fantastic job. So my little one is starting to read. And we've been trying to spend a lot of time with her books. Now she enjoys books. Like even before she could read, she would want to bring you a book and say, hey, can you read this to me? So she's really into it. And I think, you know what, at that age, they love it. Encourage them to do it as much as possible because those are good habits. They're going to translate later in life, right? In terms of their academic life, their just desire to read and the whole 9 yards. So, yes. So she's still napping. She's still sleeping this morning, and she is a horrible sleeper. Now, horrible is a relative term. I hear some parents relay their stories about how their kids sleep. I think, oh, I don't think she's that bad. But she's never been a really good sleeper. Never from day one. She doesn't sleep all the way through, which is kind of like me, to be honest. I'm probably one of the worst sleepers too. Like I wake up, oh my God, I feel like I should put on my Fitbit to tell you how many times, but I wake up a lot during the night. And I'm always waking up and looking at the clock. You know what they used to say? And I used to do this for years, is turn your clock in the opposite direction so that you don't actually see it. So when you wake up, you don't see what time it is. Because somehow that helps your brain to like just go back to sleep. Because if you look at the time, you're like, oh, automatically your brain starts thinking and processing it. It's 5 o'clock. I can get another hour and a half of sleep. I got to be up by 6:30. So they say turn the clock around so you don't see the time at all. Because I'd be looking at the time. I was up at, by the time I finally went to bed, it was after 12. Then I got up at 2 o'clock. And then my big right toe started itching. So I was like, is it going to itch where I have to get up and put some alcohol on it? Or is it just going to itch for 2 seconds? Thankfully, it only itched for 2 seconds. I was like, okay, scratch, done. Then the next time after that I remember, it was like 4 o'clock and then 5 o'clock. And then it's like, literally, it's almost every hour. I feel like I'm staring at that damn clock. I'm just like, what on earth? Like, did you guys see the article, by the way, that we did on CMR? You know, we try to put in these health articles and family related stuff like raising kids and giving you advice, all this kind of stuff. Normally Renee does those types of articles for me. And, she did one over the weekend about how sleep plays a really critical role in your diabetes, the chances of you getting diabetes, and even of how long you're going to live, like your heart attack and all this other stuff. And if you are a good sleeper, let me assure you, you would just have a better chance of having a longer, fuller life. And I envy people who are really good sleepers. Like I've known people that can sleep 10 hours straight and they're not budging, they're not moving, I'm like, how do you do that? Y'all need to tell me, because I need the secret. So I feel like I need, maybe it's something in my diet that I need. Maybe I need to take some melatonin or something. I don't know. But I do kind of feel like I need a little bit of a sleep aid to help me sleep better when I do sleep, because I'm not getting enough like total sleep. And then I'm also not getting enough quality of sleep when I am asleep. So, you know, even if I was getting 5 solid hours, you know, I'm sure that would, although that's not what the professionals say, because that article is like, you need to be getting like 7, 8 hours a night. So I'm getting nowhere near 7 or 8 hours. And then the 5 hours I'm getting is like chunks of it that's constantly being interrupted. I don't know, Tracy, good morning to you. How are you? Yes, it's the last day of hurricane season. We should have a party, because we were so fortunate this year in that we did not have any storms to any hurricanes. I hear her getting out. She's going to come straight to this room. She's going to be like, Mommy, why are you doing your show? I know, my child. Here she comes. I heard the door open. Indira, good morning. Diana, good morning. Good morning, Miss Mona. Anna's here. Dawn. Anybody else suffering with sleep issues other than me, or is it just me? Am I the only one who's like the worst sleeper? Wee, good morning. Good morning, Pauline. Miss Sue says, yes, always amazes me how some mothers homeschool their kids. Oh my God. I take my hats off to them, quite frankly. Because yeah, that's just not the best. Yeah. I see Z-Dog has up a new video about booster shots for everyone, a doctor explains. So because of Omicron, they are recommending booster shots for everyone, actually. And it's kind of interesting because even the 15 to 17-year-olds, I think, they have also now recommended, Pfizer's going to try to get approval in the coming week from the FDA to get that category of individuals into getting their booster shot as well. Breaking news in the UK, COVID-19 mask wearing reintroduced in England to tackle the new variants. As we know, they do have the new variant there. So we're going to talk about a little bit about that new variant this morning. So I'm going to queue up a few videos. Sue says, yes, I understand. I need a little help to sleep better. Yeah. And I mean, for me, for the most part during the day, I'm fine. Like once I get up and going, I'm okay. Like I'll function all day long. I don't feel like I necessarily need to take a nap. But if the circumstances were right and I went and lie down, I could probably take a nap today in most days. But then I feel like when you take a nap, it's counterproductive because I take a nap and whatever. And then it interrupts what could have been a good night's sleep again, So it's kind of a vicious cycle. So I really do my best not to nap, although occasionally I do take a nap. And then they tell you don't nap for more than an hour. And when I nap, I'm like out for hours. But my naps are like really deep. You see, for me, my naps is probably what I should be doing at night. A good deep sleep. Good morning, Emma. She says, blessed and safe day to all. Let's pass this wave of COVID without too many losses. Praying for everyone. So let's have a look at what is happening in the UK. So I got a couple UK videos. So again, they're reintroducing masks. And then I want to do maybe one video on Omicron and kind of where we're open with that. So the position with the UK is mask and booster defense are going to be mandated to tackle Omicron. And that's their position. So, I'm surprised that they did away with mask wearing in the way in which they did. And I think it certainly speaks to why the UK just hasn't been the place to look for or look at when it comes to like, oh, they've done it right. They've been a success. Marshall said the last 3 nights prior to last, I had a hard time falling asleep and sleeping through, not sure what was going on, but last night went to bed a little bit earlier and woke up this morning after 6. Normally, what the weird thing is, Marshall, I don't have a problem going to sleep. I only stay up because I've got work to do. But if I went and like disengage, you got to turn the iPads off at least an hour before, put the phones down, like all of that. The process of going to sleep seems to be relatively easy for me. So I'm not sitting up like, oh my God, I have insomnia and I can't sleep. I go to sleep. It is getting a restful night's sleep where I'm sleeping like consistently solid throughout the night. I think is where, is where the issue really is, the quality of my sleep. And then I think the duration needs to be longer. And that isn't because I can't go to sleep. That's because I'm staying up, working on the computer and doing too much work. So I think my screen time is really an issue. So I think that really, like, I need to start putting the phone down probably like 9 o'clock at night with a goal of getting into bed by 10:30. I put the phone down, don't look at the computer, but then news happens at night. It can't be helped. And, the numbers that we get from government for like the COVID numbers, can I just tell you that they come out sometimes so late at night. So last night they sent that email. Oh my God, was it after 9 o'clock? Hold on, let me see here now. It was kind of late at night. So a lot of us are up waiting on a lot of us are up waiting. Let's see what time they finally sent it last night. So yeah, news media, we're up. So yeah, yesterday, I want to say they didn't send it until it was quite late. I think I deleted the email already. But yeah, it was 9:57 is when they sent the update, the COVID-19 updates. And most people, we want to put them up as quickly as possible so that you guys can have stuff to read. And by the way, big shout out to the GIS team. They are working really, really hard. Sometimes we talk about the communications and it's not really even so much GIS, I feel, is probably the dissemination of it kind of trickling down. But, sometimes we give some constructive comments, but I think we also need to be mindful of how hard they are working and to really give them a shout out. So Christina Trumbach sent that email at 9:57. Tina has kids. She's got a young daughter and a son that are still in school. And, I'm sure 10 o'clock at night, she could be spending some quality time with her kids. And here she is putting together press releases and sending out information. Bina Manny, same thing at 9:25. She was sending out the email about, the public holidays being confirmed for the year. So it's not like a lot of the GIS staff get to go to bed or they're not working 9 to 5 jobs either. So I want to do a proper shout out to them. So Miss Ethel, good morning. So Sandy, you don't really nap per se. Occasionally. And you know what I have noticed, Ethel, and I've always been like this, like as an adult, I've really picked up on this pattern that if I have to nap during the day, and sometimes I have these controllable periods of napping, right? Where I nap and I literally cannot wake up. So my brain is still very active and my brain is like, okay, get up. You've got this to do. You've got that to do. Like it gives me a whole list of stuff to do, but my body isn't moving. When you see that happens to me, and I always tell my husband the other day, I was telling Dr. Ruthlin this, Pomares, I said, anytime that happens to me, I'm coming down with something. Something is coming. I got the flu. I got a really bad cold. Like that's my immune system saying, hey, we don't care what your brain is telling you right now. Your body needs to rest. And I mean, it's like a ton of bricks just hits me. And I will lay on the sofa and I can't move. And I will sleep for like 3-4 hours. And then when I get up, I'm like, oh yeah, something's coming. Like I can, that's before the sore throat or anything else, my body forces me to sleep. That's my indicator that I'm about to get sick. And I said this the other day to Dr. Pomares. One afternoon, I was like napping crazy and I couldn't move. And I said, oh man, that means I'm going to get sick. And she's like, let me know in a couple of days how you're feeling. And sure enough, a couple of days later, I'm like, yep, I got the sore throat. And she's like, oh yeah, well, you did call it. And I said, yeah, I've always, as an adult, I don't get sick often. And in fact, I was averaging at one point coming out of my teens and into like my 30s, I would get a cold or a flu or whatever once every 10 years. Like it's the most bizarre thing. And I was reading a thing or listening to a thing many, many years ago on NPR about they think that like the seasonal cold is like, it's almost like your body reacts to allergens or something like there's some kind of really interesting scientific way that your body's reacting to stuff. And that's why you're getting it. But for me, it was like about once every 10 years. And then years ago, I started having allergies, which is something I never had my entire life. I remember distinctly, I was doing a training course for CETA many, many years ago. And I could not stop, I was not so much sneezing, but I couldn't stop draining. Like my nasal was just draining. I was like going through an entire box of tissue, just blowing my nose. And it wasn't a cold. I was just having allergies. And it lasted for a little while and then it went away just very mysteriously. So I don't know what caused it. And then occasionally I would notice a little bit of flare up with that particular allergic situation. And, that was it. It came, it disappeared. Let me turn on the AC a little bit. So she hasn't come to me yet, which is kind of weird. Don't you love modern technology so I can control my AC with the phone? So maybe she went back and lied down. Maybe she's like, I'm so tired. So yes, I am more sleep. So Carol says, but they front loaded their spike in the summer, so they're not in the shit show that Europe is in. Well, we'll see. No nap for me either. My hubby can nap and sleep all night. It makes me mad. Yeah, some people are just sleepers. Some people just have that kind of luck. Samar Shah says, I agree that quality sleep is important for a good night's rest. Absolutely. So I think people are starting to find the backup YouTube channel, by the way. 24 people in that right now. So welcome, welcome. Oma Devi, thank you so much for joining us. Miss Ethel says, mine is willing, but your body differs. Okay, that too well. You know that too well. Yes. She understands. Good morning, Peter. How are you? So let's get into a little bit more serious news. So again, the UK is saying mask and booster defense is the way forward to tackle Omicron. Very, very interesting. Again, everybody's trying to get ahead of the situation as much as possible. How many confirmed cases do they have in the UK so far? I know that they were up to 3 as of yesterday. So let's see what the latest is here in just a second.
I'd like to update the House on more balanced and proportionate steps that we are taking. First, measures at the border to slow the incursion of the variant from abroad. On Saturday, in line with the updated advice from the UK Health Security Agency, we acted quickly to add 4 other countries to the travel red list: Angola, Mozambique, Malawi, and Zambia. This means that anyone who's not a UK or Irish national or resident who's been in any of these countries over the previous 10 days will be refused entry. And those who are allowed entry must isolate in a government-approved facility for 10 days. Beyond this red list, we're also going further to put in place a proportionate testing regime for arrivals from across the world. So we'll require anyone who enters the UK to take a PCR test by the end of their second day after they arrive, and to self-isolate until they receive a negative result. The regulations for this have been laid before the House today and will come into effect at 4 a.m. tomorrow. Second, we've announced measures to slow the spread of the virus here in the UK. We're making changes to our rules on self-isolation for close contacts in England to reflect the greater threat that may be posed by this new variant. So close contacts of anyone who tests positive with a suspected case of Omicron must self-isolate for 10 days, regardless of whether they have been vaccinated or not. Face coverings will also be made compulsory in shops and on public transport in England unless an individual has a medical exemption. The regulations for self-isolation and face coverings have been laid before the House today and will come into force at 4 a.m. tomorrow. But I can confirm to the House that there will be a debate and votes on these 2 measures to give the House the opportunity to have its say and to perform valuable scrutiny. My right honourable friend, the Leader of the House, will be setting out more details shortly and will be reviewing all of these measures that I've set out today after 3 weeks to see whether they are still necessary. Third, Mr. Speaker, we're strengthening the defences we've built against the virus. We're already in a stronger position than we were when we faced the Delta variant. We have a much greater capacity for testing, an enhanced ability for sequencing, and the collective protection that's offered by 114 million jabs in arms. And so I would like to update the House on our vaccination programme as well. Our COVID-19 vaccination programme has been a national success story. We've delivered more booster doses than anywhere else in Europe, and we've given top-up jabs to over 1 in 3 people over the age of 18 across the United Kingdom. I'd like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to the NHS, the volunteers, the armed forces, and everyone else that has been involved in this life-saving work. Our vaccines remain our best line of defense against this virus, in whatever form it attacks us.
All right, folks. So again, the message consistently is, listen, the vaccine is what it is. What is so interesting, I think, about this variant is now people who before were like, yeah, we don't know about my mask wearing, whatever. They're the same people who are now saying, oh, yes, please put on your mask, wear your mask, and talking about how incredibly important the mask wearing is. It's like, yeah, we knew this. So mask wearing has been reintroduced in England, folks. So if you're from the UK, or you're traveling there, obviously you'll have to make sure that you're aware of this. It's so funny because just last week, someone was saying to me, Sandy, I'm going to be traveling to the UK with my kids and so on. What are the conditions or requirements for entry into the UK? And funny enough, this is before Omicron came on board late last week. I said to them, with this pandemic, so much stuff is changing like in real time that I kind of feel like wait until you get a little bit closer to your travel date before you start to worry about it. And lo and behold, a lot is going to change as a result of this new situation. And this is just the world that we live in. Like, I don't think that people need to panic about anything. I think that we need to recognize that we are very much, we are very much in just a constant flux. So they're also saying that the possibility of isolating over Christmas is a real possibility, and that people now need to look closely at that being an option, even if you're traveling, to the UK, the US, anywhere at this particular point in time. So this morning, the health secretary, that was him that you just saw, Sajid Javid, I believe is how he pronounces his name. He's actually opening the coronavirus debate this morning in the House of Commons, and it has just begun. And so, yeah, it's crazy. On the U.S. side, like I said, the president made a statement yesterday, or basically he said, that it is obviously something of concern. They're still saying that it's too early to tell exactly what will happen with this particular variant. It is a variant of concern because of how many spike protein changes there are on the actual virus itself. Now, a lot of people are calling foul, on the fact that the world has moved so quickly to ban travel from those African nations primarily, although there are some non-African nations on the list. So I see some of the shows trending, like The Daily Show with Trevor Noah. He's talking about that, he's kind of calling BS, like maybe it's a little bit too soon. But I think that people are just legitimately afraid of any new variants, and especially a variant like this that has moved relatively quickly. And so they're just not going to take any chances. And so it is spreading across South Africa and other African countries in particular, because that's where it sort of popped up on the radar last week. And, the world has just decided to take very, very decisive action against blocking those countries. I mean, dozens of nations from Europe to Asia have blacklisted South Africa in particular and its neighbors, since the scientists, and the irony of it is the South African scientists were the ones who actually flagged it, right? And maybe now they're thinking, oh, maybe we shouldn't have said very much, but they have an international obligation, really. So, this guy from CNBC has said, Dr. Scott Gottlieb, he's actually said the Omicron variant might have circulated for quite some time. So he doesn't necessarily think that this just popped up last week. So that's kind of an interesting perspective on the situation. And again, President Biden did an entire address yesterday about the situation as well. So what do we know so far about it? We know that obviously it is a variant of concern, is essentially what the World Health Organization said on Friday. And they are going to continue to watch it and to monitor it and to see, sort of where we go from there. So let me just see. I think it's probably useful if we just do a little bit of an update on where we are with the virus at this particular time. And this was 12 hours ago. So listen, every single bit of information is useful, and timing, of course, is incredibly important. And the information that we're getting. So Ethel says, now scared shirtless, duh. It's already reached Canada, says Damien. Yeah, it's already in the UK. So it is tracking pretty much all over the world. So it won't be long before it's on our shores.
It's just over 2 weeks since 3 people in Botswana were found to have a new variant of SARS-CoV-2, the virus which causes COVID-19. And it's only a few days since South African scientists alerted the world.
We're already seeing an uptick in new cases in Southern Africa, with a 48% jump in new cases compared with the preceding week.
Here's what concerned the South Africans last week. They had a bad Delta surge a couple of months ago, which settled down. But look what happened in the province which includes Johannesburg. Omicron went from almost nothing to nearly 100% of genomes tested. Professor Eddie Holmes is one of the world's leading evolutionary virologists, and he thinks there are 3 possible sources of the virus.
One is that it may have been hidden somewhere, perhaps in Southern Africa. We hadn't detected it for many months. Another theory is that maybe it's evolved in someone who's got a weakened immune system. Well, the third theory, which I think is possible as well, is that maybe the virus got into an animal somewhere, maybe again in South Africa. It's evolved in an animal, and that explains some of these strain changes, then re-emerged in humans. So all those 3 routes are actually still on the table.
These strange genetic changes are what also concerns scientists around the world. A large number of mutations in the spike protein, which is the key to the virus entering the body and the part which vaccines target.
It's a little bit difficult to exactly equate the number of mutations with in the spike protein, it's the key protein, with how well the virus will evade immunity. All the variants of concern have had quite different spike proteins. This is by far the most. This is actually why I think you've seen a level of concern happen so rapidly in the last few days.
There are early signs that while we may see a surge in cases due to Omicron, vaccines will hold the line against severe disease. Some comfort along those lines comes from a patient of South African virologist Professor Alex Siegel. This person was living with HIV and was at the same time infected with the COVID virus for months, which mutated so much it produced a COVID variant which had similarities to Omicron.
This particular individual who had this infection was most asymptomatic. You figure you're infected with high levels of virus for half a year, the consequences might be extremely serious, but they were not.
We've all heard the reports from South Africa in the last few days suggesting that this is mainly associated with mild disease. I think you take those a bit of a pinch of salt at the moment. The numbers are quite low. South Africa has a very young population. It's quite hard to kind of put that in context.
But the other key question in this person who had both COVID and HIV was whether the mutated virus was resistant to current vaccines.
So the virus was resistant to the Pfizer, but it didn't shut it down completely, that's for sure.
And that may be reflected in what's been seen with Omicron over the last few days.
There are some reports of people who have been vaccinated who are being infected. But of course, this was also true for Delta. And there are reports of reinfections at a frequency we haven't seen before.
It's very unlikely that the vaccine is going to be completely ineffective. It's most likely that the vaccine will still be protective and hopefully highly protective against severe disease, but we just don't have the data yet.
From midday tomorrow, we will be suspending all flights from 6 Southern African countries.
Nations across the globe have reacted strongly and quickly to the new variant by shutting borders either completely or partially.
Already we've stopped the flights from 9 countries in Southern Africa.
There is no scientific justification whatsoever for keeping these restrictions in place.
Closing borders is a knee-jerk response, easy to do. Travelers, non-citizens don't vote. You're not going to stop it that way.
So should Australia change its public health measures in the light of this new variant? There is a growing consensus around changing our booster policy.
So I think we really need to get our skates on over the things we can control. One is the third dose booster. I think we need to look at changing that recommendation from 6 months after the second dose to any time from 2 to 6 months after the second dose.
Professor McIntyre would like us to keep wearing masks indoors and believes we should be controlling the borders at least until we know more about the virus. But the core challenge is in low to middle income countries who've largely been starved of vaccines by rich nations taking the supplies for themselves. In South Africa, just 24% of the total population is fully vaccinated. And across the entire continent, less than 10% have received 2 doses.
And if there is no equities, it's not just a question of a moral question. I think it's something that different countries have to think of very carefully, because closing borders is not going to work. So in the end, you got to address underlying problems globally.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more.
All right, folks. So really, really interesting when they talk about the lack of vaccination. Less than 10% across the African continent have been fully vaccinated, which is kind of a sad situation. And of course, you know that if you're coming into the Cayman Islands and you come from a country that has less than 10%, the existing protocols, or less than 60%, actually, not even less than 10%, but 10% is pretty dismal. The existing protocols are that you would have to be vaccinated. So my apologies, that you would have to isolate for 10 days in any event. So I'm curious to know the vaccination levels for South Africa in particular, because I think it's interesting that they said across the continent, but of course we know that there's a number of countries. So I wonder if in the continent, if South Africa has a little bit of a higher number than others. I'm just trying to have a quick look online here. So far in terms of the world vaccination numbers, we have 54.4% of the world population having received at least 1 dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. So that is 7.98 billion dosages have been administered globally. So that's almost 8 billion doses. And 31.01 million are now being administered every single day. This goes on to say that only 5.9% of people in low-income countries have received at least 1 vaccine. We've talked about this before on this program, and this is an issue, but low-income countries there is a significant disparity in their vaccination levels. And part of it is access to vaccines. So some countries have had a challenge actually getting access to vaccines. And I hate to say it, but in low income countries, you tend to have lower educational levels, and people don't trust things like medicine and vaccines. They're going to trust things like, they just believe that God is going to cure them of AIDS, or sleeping with a virgin is going to cure them of AIDS. And that's why they will rape young children. These are facts. And they're going to believe more in the Bushman and the Bushman tea and those sorts of things than maybe some things that are a little bit more based in science. And so I'm not really surprised when I see the world numbers trending in the way that they do across countries that have, less access to education and so on. So here we are. You can search by country. This is really interesting. I'll share this link. So share of people vaccinated against COVID-19. This is as of November 29th. So this was yesterday. Amazingly, the United Arab Emirates, I'm sure it's because they mandated vaccines, actually has 98% of their population vaccinated. So let me just increase this so you guys can see this a little bit better. So that's a significant number. 98% of the population in the United Arab Emirates has been vaccinated. 88.4% as of November the 15th, fully vaccinated. And then the lighter green is partial vaccination as of the same date. So about 9.7% partially vaccinated. So the total percentage is 98.1. Isn't that interesting? And this is, the irony of it is the United Arab Emirates is a country that a lot of us might think of that they don't have the most freedoms in the world, right? Especially if you're a woman and so forth. But guess what? You are also going to get vaccinated, which is interesting. Now, I'm curious to know. Let me just look up at another screen here. United Arab Emirates vaccinations. I want to see if they have mandated. I'm pretty sure that they're a country that's mandated vaccines. So according to Reuters, they also have a little. They also have a little report here. So it says here that they do have some increase in the infection rates, 81 infections reported daily, but 81 is nothing. I mean, look at the population size of United Arab Emirates compared to Cayman, and they've only had 81 new infections reported on average every day. Not too shabby, if you ask me. But I mean, an increase is an increase, right? So they've administered at least 21.5 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine so far. And assuming every person needs 2 doses, that's enough to have vaccinated 110.3% of the country's population. So this is according to Reuters. So Reuters even has their vaccination percentages a little bit higher, but I think that this is more reflective of people who've gotten the 1 dose and so on. So let me see what they've done. Have they mandated? I'm trying to see if they've actually mandated I feel like they're one of the countries that have mandated it. So according to their own website, they're pushing close to what they're considering almost 100% vaccination levels. United Arab Emirates, the Supreme Council for National Security, they've got some numbers here as well. Tests conducted, cases diagnosed, deaths. They've had over 2,000. They've had 2,141 deaths. Active cases, they have 2,955. And I'm kind of curious about, I kind of feel like they have procedures for those arriving in the UE, sorry. Self-quarantine. Let me see if I can figure out about the vaccine. I kind of believe that they have mandated importance of vaccine in general. Yeah, let me look that up on another screen. But they have a very interesting little website here that they themselves have put up. Let me see, vaccine mandate. I kind of feel like they have I feel like they have mandated it. Yes. So back in May, it says UE mandates COVID-19 vaccines for live events. So, so in August, the capital of the United Arab Emirates mandates booster shots for Sinopharm recipients. So if you got the Chinese state-backed Sinopharm vaccine, they actually mandated it to get a booster by September the 20th. So they've even mandated boosters. So it says the UE became the first country worldwide to formally offer the booster regime early this year, following reports of Sinopharm recipients seeking the third shot amid concerns about an insufficient antibody response. So, of course, you guys will know that Sinopharm is the Chinese state-backed coronavirus vaccine. And so they are getting boosters as well. And there's been some people here who have said that, oh, this is a better vaccine for whatever reason, but it seems to be trending the same way in terms of 6 months later, you definitely got to get a booster. It doesn't give you as much protection, admittedly, as the mRNA vaccines, right? So Abu Dhabi, which imposed some of the region's most stringent vaccine restrictions this summer, hardened its stance on Sunday. So this article is dating back to August 29th, so keep that in mind. Saying that those who receive 2 doses of the Sinopharm will no longer be able to access public places like malls, schools, and gyms without a third booster shot. So they've definitely mandated vaccines at some level. And the new rule adds to growing concerns over the coronavirus protection offered by China's Sinopharm vaccine. Aside from basic efficacy numbers, the Chinese manufacturer has released very little data about its vaccine, prompting criticism for its lack of transparency. Why are we not surprised? The Chinese just do their own thing, trust me. Good morning to Damien, says China is offering 1 billion vaccines to Africa. I mean, of course they are, Damien. And, the Chinese, in my mind, always have a little bit of ulterior motive for the things that they do. World domination is what China is all about, in my opinion. And they do that by the products that they offer, cheap labor, shipping, everything. And so I wasn't surprised when they got into the vaccine business and when they started trying to offer it, regardless of how well it works. Why wouldn't you provide as much data as possible about the efficacy of your vaccine, especially when you have people in the Cayman Islands who've been arguing for use and availability of those vaccines right here in this jurisdiction. And yet we don't quite know. We're going to just believe whatever China tells us. But, again, they have been criticized for what it says here has been very little public data about its vaccines, prompting criticism for its lack of transparency. Anyway, it's at the heart of China's own mass immunization campaign and became the linchpin of the UE's rollout policy among the world's fastest per capita. So the UE has admittedly done a good job of, even if it is the Chinese one, of rolling out vaccines as quickly as possible. So it said at first that Abu Dhabi exclusively used the Sinopharm for its rollout, but in recent months started to offer Pfizer BioNTech as well. And across the country, the majority of low-paid workers from Africa, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East who power the United Arab Emirates economy received the Sinopharm vaccine as the nation raced towards a swift reopening. So, yeah, interesting. So we have Singapore, who is next, and they're claiming that they have 93% of their total population that have received, both either first or second dose. Second, 2 dosages, fully vaccinated, is at 91.91% as of November the 5th, and 1% having received just 1 shot so far. Cuba is also claiming a relatively high percentage of vaccinated persons. Portugal, Chile. So the list is quite interesting. Where's the US on the list? The US is quite far down the list, actually. Shame on America for being such a wealthy country and only having 58% of your population completely vaccinated. Germany is doing a better job. Vietnam is doing a better job. Even the UK is doing a better job. France, Italy, Uruguay. Thailand comes after the UK. Iran, Turkey, Mexico, India is lagging behind at 31.73%. What is this number here where it says world? Oh, this is the world figures. The entire world is at 42.96%. Is that right? I don't know what that means when it says world. We might have to dig into that one a little bit deeper. Indonesia, Russia, Philippines. And this is why if you're traveling from the Philippines to the Cayman Islands, of course, they're only at 27.74% for double jabs. So you will have to be quarantined when you come from the Philippines. A lot of people are talking about, our 60% policy and saying that, it disenfranchises people from Jamaica. Well, the truth of the matter is it disenfranchises, if you want to use that term, a lot of countries, especially the African countries. So look at Nigeria, 2.9%, Ethiopia, Kenya, Egypt, South Africa is at 23.96%. So you'd be quarantining anyway if you're coming from South Africa to Cayman. Pakistan, Bangladesh, again, the Philippines, Russia. So some dismal numbers. Let's see alphabetically. We've got population, hospital beds per 1,000, life expectancy. I wonder if we can do it. So we've got people vaccinated by dose, people fully vaccinated. So this is a slightly different graph here. This site has a lot of interesting information. Linear, and then we have the log view. So folks, all I can tell you right now is just be on the lookout. The Caribbean, they ironically have not included the Caribbean in this. You have to go in and specifically select, where's Cayman? Cayman Islands. So let's put the Cayman Islands on this. Let's take out all these other countries. Take out Brazil, Bangladesh, China, Cuba, Ethiopia, France. Let's take everybody else out and just look at some Caribbean numbers. So you can untick all the countries that you don't want because they gave you all the big countries automatically. So let's take those all off. Vietnam, Uruguay, the world, United Kingdom, Spain. So let's look at Cayman, Aruba. So you can actually go through and look at the region. Anguilla, Barbados, and where was I? Anguilla, Africa, Angola, Bahamas, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Barbados. Where else is in the Caribbean? Should we include Belize? We have a lot of Belizeans. Bermuda, Brazil, BVI. Cook Islands, Costa Rica, DR. Do you want to do DR? We have a lot of people here from DR, sort of. Ecuador. So we could do Honduras. I'm just thinking of the countries, like kind of the top populations that we have. Of course, we do have Jamaica and the UK, and the Philippines, which we've looked at already, and the UK and the USA. What other countries? Rovena just asked about Honduras. Funny enough, I've just added them on the list. So let's have a look here in a second. Poland, Peru, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Sri Lanka, Trinidad and Tobago. TCI, we don't really have a lot of people here from TCI, but obviously we're always comparing ourselves to them regionally speaking. So let's include them in some numbers here. I think, is that most people in the region? We won't really do St. Kitts and Grenadines. And I know Haiti's number is going to be dismal. So in this list of countries that we've selected, which is mostly Caribbean countries, Cayman has the highest vaccination level, no surprise there, followed by Bermuda, followed by Aruba, and then TCI, which is so interesting because Turks has been open a lot longer than we have been. And they have, patted themselves on the back, saying that they have had a lot of successes. And then Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, BVI, DR. Honduras is almost at the bottom of this list. Didn't I select Jamaica? Oh, damn. Jamaica's at the very bottom. Wow. Jamaica has fewer people vaccinated than Honduras? Come on, Jamaica. Y'all not doing too shabby. I mean, you're not doing too good. Ooh. Oh, wow. It's a big number drop too. Because let's see if we can change it back to, what was the first, was it this one that we had? No. I like the other view better. The one with the, which one was that? People vaccinated by dose. Yes. Okay, so this one's, why is it that bar graphs are easier to use than the linear graphs to view? All right, so Cayman, that's us. Bermuda, Aruba, TCI, Anguilla is at about 66% overall. And double dosages are obviously lower. So they're at 60% for double dose. DR, wow, Jamaica is only at 17% for 2 doses. Oh my God. That's not good. The Bahamas is at 34%, rounded up to 35. So they're at 34.8. Trinidad is at 45.75. Where's Honduras? Honduras is 39%. Barbados is 47. Belize is at 47. BVI is at 54% for double dose. Interesting. So they have all sorts of stuff here. Vaccine dosages and confirmed deaths. Let's see where we are on the list. Deaths per 1 million, per 100. Cayman is, oh no, that one's even worse. Cayman is where? That kind of dark brown color, dark blue. So is this Cayman? Where's Cayman? This is Cayman. Table. Oh, wow. This is quite detailed. This website is quite good, actually. It's very detailed information. All right. I'm happy to share this link with you guys. You can check it out for yourselves. All right. So does it state population for each country? Well, obviously, all of this would be relative to population size. So per 100, per 1 million. All of it is based on population size so that you can compare it. Relative to everything else. So excess mortality, deaths from all causes compared to projection based on previous years. Where's Cayman on this list? Cayman isn't even here. Believe it or not, our mortality rate, despite what you all may think, even taking into account the COVID deaths, COVID-related deaths, is actually quite low. Up until a few months ago, the numbers that we got from the HSA is that they were the lowest in 10 years. And I know a lot of people have this misconception in their head that people are dropping down left, right, and center. But in fact, they're actually not. Hospital admissions, so there's no matching data for that. So yeah, so very, very interesting how people can take information and make up their own information, I suppose, when they're ready as well. All right, so let's move on to some of our other topics that are on the agenda today. I saw Ms. Sue asking about the graduation topic. Y'all, we got a phone call yesterday with some unhappy people. I actually got more than one phone call about what was going on with graduation. And I'm trying to work my brain around it. I'm not sure that I fully understand it because it makes no sense. I don't know. What does the education ministry do versus the department? This is one of those where I'm always a little bit confused about their roles. The other one that has a ministry and a department is tourism. So tourism has a ministry, that tourism, Department of Tourism, and then the ministry, which includes, I guess DOT falls under the ministry, obviously, and it includes so much more. It's just those two that have a department, right? Why do they have a department? It's because they're such big areas, or somebody kind of needs to break this down and explain it to me. But anyway, here's what we have going on, folks. This is the complaint, and I can only tell it to you how I got it. So parents started calling yesterday about two concerns as it relate to their students. The first concern is graduation. They have said just yesterday for Clifton Hunter, now I don't know what else is going on with the other schools, that they have been told that there are, hold on, I had to take some notes, child, because I can't remember everything anymore. So we have, let me see where my notes are for this one now. That's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I'm looking for. I think it's in, here we go. So we have graduation happening on December the 2nd, which is this Thursday. And apparently there's 147 students at Clifton Hunter that will be graduating. And the graduation ceremony will include just the students and a few administrators. So nothing official has been sent out in terms of written correspondence as of late yesterday, but parents are being told that they cannot attend graduation. It's just going to be the students and a few administrators. Now, come again? To me, this doesn't make any sense. You only graduate from high school once. And quite frankly, I was thinking about this. I actually said this to one parent. I'm like, even if you miss your child's wedding, not that you should, but there is a possibility, 50%, that the child could remarry again. So you might get another wedding. If you miss the birth of a child, well, that's kind of horrible, but they might have another child. I don't know. Like, I feel high school graduation is like a time of, like, children are growing up. They're getting that closer to adulthood. And you as a parent has made so many sacrifices to get them to that point. Endless nights up doing homework, pressing them on. And, for you to miss that amazing, what's the word I'm looking for? Not landmark, but milestone in their life, it just doesn't even sound right. Like, my brain can't process how that would be possible. So what are they going to do? You're going to take your kids to graduation, drop them off, and you wait in the car until they're done with the ceremony and come out? I think they need to do something different. Find another venue, because now there's limits on indoor and outdoor space. So find an outdoor space venue where you can do the social distancing that's required, wear the mask, right? And 147 kids really isn't a whole lot. Like, when I graduated from high school, how many kids did I have graduate in my year? Oh my gosh. I want to say it was a couple thousand, and this is back in the day. We had a huge school. I feel like there's a way to accommodate where, even if it's just one parent, if you give kids a choice, you can only have one person in attendance. So pick the person who has been the most influential in your life, or whatever. The parents might decide amongst themselves, like, okay, dad, you go. No, mom, you go, whatever. But I think you need to have at least one parent there. Like, I'm not really, now someone is asking a very interesting question, but would they be allowed to attend any funeral? Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is, in terms of funerals, there are limitations, but the family, definitely, they're the ones who are going to be there. Even if you only got 10, you're going to pick the 10 most important people, family members in that person's life. It's interesting. Yes, Miss Sue, John Gray So Isma Ray is saying that that's the same for John Gray today. Unhappy parents. So when is John Gray's graduation? Jean Scott says they already did this in the BRAC. Well, parents are not happy. I can tell you. They're like, this is just not right. So Ms. Sue says, no parents at all. So unfair to do this to the children. Now, after working hard to graduate, yes, I was going to see my second grandson graduate. Well, Ms. Sue, you're a grandparent. So even if they say to you that you can't come, I can kind of understand that. But a parent, unless you raise a child, because some grandparents they're the parents really. So they do the raising. Now, if you were there as the child's primary, parent, regardless of your official status, then yeah, I would feel a way about that. It's tonight. Oh, wow. Well, I guess it's too late for anything to change. So Damien says, so do they have to stay away from each other after that for 10 days? Well, obviously not. They're picking them up. So Alice says Peter Castle would have been a great venue. Yes, I think that you could social distance at Peter Castle. Here's another suggestion, and I don't really know why perhaps no one thought of this, but why not break it up into multiple mini ceremonies so that you could allow parents to attend? So if you've got 100 and what did I tell you guys, 147 students? What if you had 3 ceremonies, right? So take 147 divided by 3. And I know this would be a little bit more work on the part of the school administrators. All right, so say you did 49 students per graduation ceremony, and then you allowed at least one parent to attend. That would be manageable. Like, I think it's kind of weird that, especially given the small size of these groups anyway, I mean, 147 kids really isn't. Like I said, my graduating class, I can't remember what it was back in the day, but it was well over, I think it was over like 1,200 or something. Cayman has always been relatively small compared to the rest of the world. I don't know. I do believe that there could have been a compromise to this situation. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to be done in 30 minutes. That's long? Oh my gosh. I know, for a 5-year-old, it seems like a really long time. All right, folks, do not forget that the HSA has opened up the booster shots to 30 plus. Louise says, yes, Giselle, it is because of COVID. Louise says that they should allow vaccinated parents. Sue says, I had my ticket to go from another week. And it's prom on Friday night. So what happens with prom? Like, where do the kids go for prom? I don't know. I kind of feel like some forward thinking and planning could have been done. And I think that was a criticism that was actually coming from the parents, as they were like, listen, the current COVID restrictions have been in place for a minute in terms of gathering indoor spaces. And so if the department, I guess, was really all that interested in accommodating parents, they could have done so with a little bit of pre-planning. I don't even know. Would you let your kids walk under these circumstances? I guess it's selfish of you to not allow them to walk because you'd like to be there. Because of course you still want them to kind of have that experience. But somebody else has said that received a notice for early closing the graduation scheduled for December 2nd. It's not today. So when was the notice sent out? Because yesterday for Clifton Hunter, I had parents saying to me that they had not received anything official, that they were making phone calls and trying to find out. I feel a sneeze coming on. Trying to find out what was going on, but that, they hadn't received an email or anything. So how was notification sent? And that's a little bit, obviously when the information was sent is important. So, we're going to live stream it, by the way. Yeah, we will live stream both ceremonies. I guess look out for it. So prom is on Saturday at the Marriott, yet they can go with a date. It makes no sense at the Westin. So help me understand this one. So prom, in theory, everybody can attend prom, all 147 graduates, and they can take a date? Or date's going to be other students? Is it restricted to other students, or can they take a date from anywhere? Yeah, because if that's the case, it really doesn't make any sense. Look, my cup and my shirt actually match today.
Where's your cup?
See? It matches my shirt.
It matches my necklace.
It does. And what color is this?
Blue.
Blue. And it's also?
Blue.
Yeah, but what kind of blue? What does it look like?
Teal.
Teal. That's right. That's a much more descriptive blue. It's not just blue, but it's teal. Yeah, I'm going to go with you in this one. I think on the hot mess meter,
Mama?
I need to get a hot mess meter. This would be like all the way over. Really hot mess. Yes, ma'am.
This big blue bead looks teal like your cup, right, Mama?
Yes. Don't you just love how she says, Mama? She's like, yes, Mama. I just love the way she says, Mama. So cute. All right. So let's run a few commercials, folks. Dr. Lee has made a few comments on, how we compare, how we're tracking. We're talking earlier, compared to other jurisdictions in other countries.
Obviously, we've been looking to our Caribbean, CARICOM and UCOT neighbours to see how they've been experiencing, and everybody's taken their own journey through this. Their own journey is really caused by combinations of factors due to local sensitivities, the demands on the economies, and the different regulations that people have felt that they could put in place. And regulations are obviously different from country to country, so you can't, everywhere's got different constitutions, different ways of life, and different things that the public would want and would tolerate. In particular, of interest to me has been the fact that in Turks and Caicos, they found that the majority of the tourists, the visitors to the country, are not actually the people who seem to have suffered the worst with the infections. It's actually been the local people. We can understand that because the local people are there for all the time, really, and that's probably why, because the tourists come and go, and it's not the same group of people. For example, if we have 20,000 additional people, it's not the same people all the time, even though that number of 20,000 has grown. That group is constantly changing, and with new people, and people are leaving the islands as they arrive.
Wonderland Christmas trees are here. It's official. It's Cayman's most wonderful time of the year. Don't delay or all the elves will give the trees away. Stop by our Christmas tree lot to select from the finest balsam fir trees, starting at $100 for 5 to 6 feet. Christmas lot is located right next to Cost You Less in Governor Square. Selected from the best farms in Canada, your tree has been grown with love and care by all our elves for many years. Wonderland Christmas Trees is owned and operated by experienced elves with over 6 years of industry experience. Don't trust your Christmas tree needs to anyone else. And remember, for every tree you purchase, Wonderland Christmas Trees makes a donation to Feed Our Future and Meals on Wheels. Visit wonderlandtrees.ky or find us on Facebook to place your order today. Christmas tree sales going on now. Don't delay. Wonderland Christmas Trees, your best choice for Christmas.
Ho, 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 ho! Merry Christmas! Give your family the gift of Roquet. Looking for the perfect gift idea for the entire family? Then look no further than Roquet, Cayman's #1 streaming experts. Confused by VPNs, Amazon Prime, Netflix geolocking, UK channels disappearing, where to find your favorite events, and so much more? Roquet takes the guesswork out of the world of streaming, doing the hard work for you. Give them a call today and see why Roquet is Cayman's most knowledgeable and customer-focused streaming support company. 345-926-1213. That's 345-926-1213. Call them today and give the gift that the whole family will enjoy, including you.
We have you covered for 64 years as the island's trusted energy provider for all 3 islands. Home Gas is your #1 supplier of propane and propane products in the Cayman Islands, offering same-day delivery on Grand Cayman. Place your order before midday, and the Home Gas delivery team will get your tank topped up in any district island-wide. Same-day delivery, one of the reasons people prefer Home Gas to anyone else. We've got you covered. Call us today on 949-7474.
CUC advises customers on South Church Street, South Sound Road, and in Secret Gardens and Hidden Gardens off Fairbanks Road that they may experience short, intermittent interruptions to their electrical service on Tuesday, November 30th, between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. Areas affected include customers from Feline Close on South Church Street to Bel Air Drive on South Sound Road, including Secret Gardens and Hidden Gardens off Fairbanks Road. Motorists are asked to drive with caution when utilizing South Church Street and South Sound Road, as CUC will have a number of vehicles and personnel in the area and may be required to temporarily block one lane on a section of these roads. CUC apologizes for this interruption, which is necessary to facilitate required overhead infrastructure upgrades and repairs to provide our customers with safe, reliable, and efficient power. For more information on the outage, please contact CUC's customer service team at 949-5200 or email service@cuc.ky.
All right, folks. So just a reminder that CUC outage is actually happening today. So if you live in the South Sound area, you will definitely want to be advised of that development. I'll stick it on social media as well, just in case you guys have forgotten that it's taking place today. Sometimes you forget until the day of. What can I tell you? Okay, so another parent has reached out and said that they received the email on Monday. But Monday is yesterday, December. So it says yesterday, 11:08 a.m., reference early school closure. So Thursday because of graduation. But yesterday still isn't a whole lot of notice for an event that's taking place on Thursday, right? So they are encouraging student or parents to make sure that you're on the email distribution list, because otherwise that might explain why you've not gotten correspondence. But yeah, I mean, the parents said yesterday they were calling and trying to figure out what was going on. So even if they got this email yesterday, which was titled early school closure, this didn't really say anything about the number of people able to attend graduation. But yesterday is still not a whole lot of notice. So I don't know. As a parent, I would not be particularly happy. Richard says, so cute. Damien says, so the bartenders and servers have more privilege at the prom for a few hours. Yeah, it's weird. Ms. Sue says teenagers have had it really tough. And you know what? I think that unfortunately, the children have really suffered as a result of COVID. Older kids, younger kids. And I think as parents, this is why you really want to make sure that you have kept an eye on your teenagers with a view to ensuring their emotional well-being has been kept intact. And, you know, talk to them a lot about what's happening, because they have a lot of questions. And I think even if your teenagers are pretending like they understand what's going on, probably if you had some deeper conversations with them, you would discover that they have a lot of concerns that they're probably just not vocalizing. So encourage them to open up about what's happening in the very fast-paced, changing, and unknown world that we are currently living in. So yeah, it's tough times for sure. Okay. All right. So I don't know what to tell y'all about the whole school situation. I feel like it's almost kind of too late to do anything about it, because literally we just found out yesterday, and I've been asked by parents to please look into that. The other concern about the schools, I think that this one is something that needs to be addressed, because this could impact your students' ability to even do well in terms of their exams and stuff like that, is that I'm hearing that a lot of students are being forced to share a laptop during exam time. So now this is John Gray school. And what I have heard is that apparently, this is super weird, but apparently they're sitting exams, and they have essentially been told that they would have had access to multiple like every student would have their own computer to be able to sit the exams. Now, what I'm being told instead is that actually isn't happening. What is happening is that the students are having to share laptops. And I thought to myself, that simply doesn't make any sense. What do you mean share a laptop? So share a laptop? Yes. Apparently, students are having to share a laptop for exam purposes. Okay, how does that work? So one parent was saying that her year 7 child was having to share a laptop with other students, and they were being disenfranchised as a result. And I thought, well, of course, it seems like they would be. And somehow in my mind, that just doesn't seem to make any sense. Why does I thought we'd been through this already. I mean, I thought that all kids had been allocated laptops, and that was a result of, extra money being allocated and spent in order to make sure that that was happening as the COVID situation began. Now, I knew that there were some shortages initially, but here I am thinking that this was all resolved. So I'm a bit surprised to still hear parents calling my phone to say that this remains an ongoing issue. And during examination times, which is the most important time of year, as far as I'm concerned, for students, where they need as little stress as possible in their lives, they're still having to put up with sharing a laptop like during the exam and taking turns. Like, when it's exam time, you don't need to be stressing your kids anymore. Like, they're already stressed out because the pressure's on. It should be on them to do well and to perform, and they've been studying hard, and and then to go into an exam environment and not have an exam environment that's like really calm is extremely disruptive. We've all been there where something has happened in an exam environment before. I've been in exam environments where other students have had meltdowns. It happened once in law school. People couldn't take the pressure. And if you're not in the right frame of mind, like, that can really mess with your head, and it could make you mess up your exam. Like, okay, you've been studying hard, your material. These are essay exam questions. This is a multiple choice now. This is a real school, right? Essay, you got to be able to think through theory and know case law and all this kind of stuff. And you have someone who all of a sudden bursts out crying as you start the exam. It can play with your head. And the same thing happens if you go into an exam room and you're expecting to have your own laptop to only find out, oh yeah, you got to wait your turn. Somebody else is going to use this laptop first, and then you're going to use it. And it's like, my brain wasn't ready for that. And I think teenagers in particular who haven't had the experience of, by the time I was in law school, I already had, well, actually, by the time I did this particular part of law school, which was the PPC, I already had several degrees under my belt. So I did the traditional university experience. So I went to USF, up and down all over campus. I had my law degree, which again was attending classes. I had that under my belt for many, many years. And I had even done my master's, which was an online program. So I'm like, nothing can really, during exam time, I know how to focus. I'm an adult. I know how to focus and be about my business, and somebody crying in the corner, I'm just going to look at them and kind of maybe roll my eyes a little bit, but I'm still focused on the cases that I need in my brain, and tenancy law and immigration law and all this stuff that I'm like, just think about, probably this question is coming. You don't know in what form yet, and still it can be a little bit disruptive. So I can only imagine. How old are they? Year 7 is how old? Are they 11? 12 even? Are they that old yet? But whatever it is, they don't have the life experience to go into a stressful situation. I'm like, come on, people. Get it together, because I do not think that should be happening. Okay, so I'm hoping that somebody's paying attention and somebody's listening, and that, that should happen. So someone says, in regards to the conversation earlier, think of it, a cabbage or tomatoes handled by a person who's infected with COVID-19 and packed in a refrigerator for shipping to us here in Cayman. The package is purchased and brought here. It's open and the germs are now in a person's hands. Just imagine what's next. It doesn't need to be transmitted by humans. It can catch a ride on anything. And the Chinese practically control most of South Africa now. They have every reason to support these areas. So let me just say something about that first bit of that. So we know that early on in the pandemic, there were concerns about COVID coming in food containers and that sort of thing. Thankfully, there's been no real indication that COVID is surviving on surfaces. So the way you're going to catch this in 99.99999% of the cases is direct contact with an infected person for at least 15 minutes or more. So that is why when they start contact tracing, that's the question that they're going to ask you. Not even necessarily every person that you've been in contact with, but who have you been in contact with for at least 15 minutes in your personal space? Like someone talking to you, exercising with you at the gym, that you're breathing, the same airspace, that sort of thing. So it's a lot less, and that's why, again, even in outdoor spaces where the numbers can be increased, because it's not as transmittable. Now, we do know that there are certain places that it is transmitted very, very easily. Churches, you're in close environments, you're singing, you're dancing, you're doing all sorts of stuff, right? As well as, certain bars where you're sitting down eating or you're talking to people in close proximity and that sort of thing. Those are the places that you're going to most likely pick it up. Not in a container coming from halfway around the world where it's been sitting in cold refrigerated temperatures and so on. That's not where your concern lies. It is elsewhere.
Census 2021. Came and get ready. Census starting 10th of October 2021. Census West Bay, you ready? Census East End, we coming. Census everyone will be counted. Census 2021. Census but in town, are you ready? Census Georgetown, we coming. Census your info will be secret. Northside, get ready. Census Rockers will be counted. Census Little Cayman, we coming. Census people get ready. Census 2021. Census todos se cuentan. Census Latinos serán contados. Filipinos marcanda. 2021. 2021 census. Papa, are you ready? Census. Mama will be counted. Census. Children and toddlers. Census. 2021 census. Information is secret. Census. 2021 census. Starting October 10th. 2021 census. 2021 census. Census. Census.
2021 census. Everyone counts.
So we know that one of the ways to really try to tackle the coronavirus actually is proper ventilation. So listen, as the weather gets colder, and of course here in the Caribbean, we're not going to necessarily have cold weather, but it will be cooler. People tend to head indoors. So the risk, this is one of the reasons why it goes up in the winter months. So the risk of catching COVID-19 is actually on the rise. And ventilation infiltration is one of the biggest offenses against the coronavirus this winter season. So again, if you own certain venues like a bar or a restaurant, folks, you will want to ensure that you are doing certain things, okay? So what do you need to be doing? Yeah, commercials. I'm trying to.
Take a look at this map. It shows the change in coronavirus cases over the past 2 months. You can see cases are rising, and as the weather gets colder and people head back indoors, experts say it could get worse.
As we get through the fall and into the winter, with the holiday season going, we've got to do something different.
Experts warn that many buildings, like restaurants, schools, and homes, are not equipped with the ventilation and filtration systems needed to reduce the spread of COVID-19.
So by now, people are really familiar with masking, hand washing, distancing, but fewer people are aware that ventilation and filtration really matter.
It's now clear that the coronavirus travels through the air, which is why indoor gatherings can be so deadly. The virus can accumulate in aerosols, tiny droplets that gather in the air as we breathe and talk.
That virus is never naked in the air, is what we say. It's always floating in respiratory droplets that are much bigger.
Indoors, those particles can add up, increasing the risk of transmission. And one way to mitigate that is to pump in fresh air with a ventilation system.
We have to think about the thermal conditions like humidity and temperature, but also just how much outdoor air is moving in. For me, the priority is to increase the air exchange rate.
The air exchange rate determines how many times an hour fresh air circulates through a building. There's not an exact recommended rate, but experts say that 3 to 6 exchanges per hour is ideal. But good flow of fresh air is only one part of preventing the indoor spread of the coronavirus. The other is filters, and experts recommend using one called HEPA. This type of pleated mechanical filter is made from fiberglass, foam, or cotton. It can remove more than 99% of airborne particles, including those carrying viruses like the coronavirus. This is the same type of filter used in hospitals and airplanes. But there has been some confusion over whether or not HEPA filters can effectively capture airborne coronavirus. That's because these filters are rated for particles that are 0.3 microns in size, larger than the coronavirus. People assume that they don't catch anything smaller, but that's just not true.
Filters are rated for the particle size they perform worst at, and that's 0.3 microns. As you get to bigger particles and even smaller particles, the HEPA filter will capture closer to 100%.
Because the coronavirus tends to travel in droplets that are larger than 0.3 microns, HEPA filters can capture almost all of them. The virus also travels in droplets that are smaller, and HEPA filters can capture those too.
Filters work not by straining out things that are larger than the holes in them, but they actually work by trapping particles in the air as the air flows around the different fibers in the filter.
When very small aerosols bump into gas particles, they move at a random pattern. That is called Brownian motion.
Kind of like a drunk person stumbling around in the dark. And because of that random motion, they can crash into the fibers.
The harder it is for particles carrying viruses to pass through a filter, the lower the chance of viral transmission. But the problem is that not every building has a system that can handle them.
When you have a air system moving air through the building and then it runs through a filter, you can imagine that a higher efficiency filter that's more tightly woven is going to be harder to push air through. Very few systems can push air through a HEPA filter unless it's designed that way, because HEPA is the most efficient filter we have.
That is why experts recommend that schools, businesses, and homes use a different type of lower efficiency filter called MERV.
If you can get up to something called MERV 13, that's able to remove 80% or more of viruses that might be in the air.
This is important because this type of filter can be installed in standard ventilation systems, like what you might have in your home. Still, there are plenty of buildings that aren't able to adapt this type of filter either.
Many people are starting to realize for the first time that their buildings can't respond. Their systems are not dynamic. They're not resilient. They can't increase capacity.
Older and underfunded schools face some of the biggest challenges. According to the U.S. Government Accountability Office, 41% of districts need to update or replace their ventilation system in at least half of their schools, which adds up to about 36,000 schools nationwide. The Washington, D.C. public school system spent $24 million on upgrades to handle higher efficiency filters in preparation for the return of students and teachers. And it's not just pricey for schools. Some restaurants will need to spend over $30,000 to upgrade their systems, in addition to operating costs.
You pay more for energy to bring in more outdoor air and condition it, and also work harder. Your system will work harder to push air through a higher efficiency filter.
The air pumped into buildings also needs to be cooled or heated, which adds to energy bills. Even though not every building can afford to make these adjustments, experts say there are other solutions. For older buildings with outdated systems, opening windows is a good, cheap option. But in the winter, this isn't always possible, and some buildings have windows that are sealed shut.
If you can't hit the targets, consider supplemental air cleaning through the use of a portable air cleaner with a HEPA filter. Now, if you size these correctly for the room, for a restaurant, a school classroom, a bedroom at home, you can get 4, 5, or 6 air changes per hour of clean air, and it can be cost effective.
That's what the DC public school system did, in addition to upgrading their ventilation systems. The bottom line, we know that the coronavirus can spread through the air, and we know how to reduce the risk of transmission. The biggest hurdle will be the cost of putting the science into action.
All right, folks. So again, pumping fresh air in is really what's essential, or you going out as much as possible. But even if you are going out, if you still have to spend time inside, when you go into restaurants and stuff, they need to be pumping fresh air in. And it's so interesting to see, people go with the cheapest option when it comes to ventilation systems and air conditioning systems and so on. So the easiest thing to do is open the windows. And can I tell you guys, as you know, I had both 2 other people in my house COVID positive, and I have thankfully remained COVID free at this point. And one of the things that we did as soon as we knew what was happening is every single day we opened the sliding glass doors. So the master bedroom has 1, 2, 3 sets of windows. I think it's 3 sets of double windows. So I would open at least one of those and the sliding door, which is then onto a porch, and you get lots of airflow. Then the living area has a sliding glass door on that side. I would open that too. Couldn't really open the front door because there's no screen or anything on the front end, right? But then I would go around to some of the other rooms and I would open a window. And I was thinking about it. When was the last time you actually aerated your house, opened windows and let the air get out? You hardly ever do it. As that video said, most office buildings do not even have the capacity for you to be able to do so. But if you own a restaurant, you own a retail space, you got to figure out how to open that place up as much as possible. Even if you do it before customers come in. You ever go into a restaurant or a food area? This happens in all sorts of places. There's a few restaurants in town, like little coffee shops and stuff. Every time you go in there, you come out smelling like the food. If they do bagels and little sandwiches and whatever, you couldn't help but come out smelling that. To me, that's always a good indication of how good their ventilation system is. Because you go in there just to even get a to-go item. The second you come out, you have, like, if you smell your clothing, it has seeped into your clothing just standing in line for 5 minutes. No proper ventilation. So I would suggest that you just throw the windows open if you can. Open the doors, back door, front door. And I know here in the Caribbean, we have this issue of flies, which, trust me, everybody knows how much I hate a fly. And I'm always walking around with my fly swatter, killing them. Over the weekend, we had the back door, on the screen porch, we had that door open for a couple minutes, and here comes the flies trying to get inside. You know, and I'm going around, I think I killed like 3 or 4 on the porch on Saturday. Thank God they weren't able to get inside the house, but they were on the porch. And so that's a whole other concern that we have in the Caribbean, especially, is these annoying flies coming in. But you know what? Try to open, most of our windows have screens on them. If you can prop them open and open them up. Yes, ma'am.
The fairy doesn't have any more magic because I touched it.
The fairy doesn't have any more magic. Okay, we'll sort that out here in a minute, because fairy magic is obviously very important. But yeah, open stuff up. Like, you know, all these big retail doors, they have the big double and quad doors because they need to be able to put stuff in before you welcome your customers when staff are prepping in the morning, whatever. How about opening up, especially now that it's a little bit cooler? Let some fresh air get in there, because if their AC unit upgrades in the States is going to run them $30,000, you can imagine the price tag in Cayman is probably going to be 4 times that. And most businesses can't afford to do it. And in fact, that's the sort of thing that is actually open to the landlord to do, not so much the tenant. So, you know, most people in Cayman don't own, especially in commercial spaces, they don't own the commercial space, they're renting it from someone. So for a landlord to invest that kind of money during these COVID times is probably just not going to happen. So what I would suggest really, folks, is just prop open some windows and doors, let the fresh air come inside. And if you're going to a restaurant or a bar where you can actually make use of outdoor space, because remember during the lockdown, when we were in a much stricter situation, what they were doing at that time, they were setting up. Some of them don't really have proper outdoor space, but somehow they were managing to find a little sidewalk to couch on and put a couple tables outside. Continue to, if you have to utilize outdoor spaces for eating. Trust me. Now, obviously in the States, it's a little bit different if you have to eat outside when it's like snowing or it's really, really cold. That's unlikely to happen. So Rhonda says, good morning, Sandy. I trust that you are well. I wonder if the people that are in the hospital unvaccinated, do they know what medication the doctors are using? Or do they say you can't put that in my body? Thanks, Sandy, for reading. Have a blessed day. Well, Ms. Rhonda, it's a fair point and it's a fair question. Most people, when your life depends on it, you have no clue what the doctors are doing. You're just like, please save my life at all costs. And they could be using anything on you and know at that point, they're not going to be asking for an ingredient list as they have been for the COVID vaccine. So your point is well taken. We did have a young lady we know who's still there on a ventilator. Every day I kind of hear opposing stories about her current condition. The last update I received yesterday is that her lungs are not doing particularly well. And she was one of those people who was really big on the anti-vaxxer trail here in the Cayman Islands, part of one of these secret groups, lambasting people, including myself, going on and on and on about, oh, vaccines don't work and blah, blah, blah. Well, now she's tethering, if you believe the alternate reports, because like I said, every day it changes. I think maybe the family is in a little bit of denial about her prognosis. And as we've said here in the program, on more than one occasion, by the time they put you in a ventilator, it's not looking good. Right? Not to say that everybody who puts on ventilators and come out, but your chances of not coming out has just increased exponentially. It's a numbers game, just like your chances with, if you've been vaccinated, of catching it, of spreading it, of getting sick in the hospital with it, of dying from it, are significantly improved. Your chances once you're in a ventilator of dying are significantly real at that point. And so families, I think, live in moments of denial as they go through all of this. So they were always hopeful that, yes, they can intubate her and she'll be fine and she'll come out just like how she was before. And I mean, you guys you're confused if that's the case. You're not seeped in reality, because I can tell you without a doubt that ventilation is not something you want for your loved ones, especially if they have any kind of condition. So there's a young man at Health City, I understand he's in his 30s. Before this, perfectly healthy, caught COVID. They thought he was going to be fine. And if you'd been listening to any of our shows that we've done, the COVID Spotlight series, Kevin Watler has had the experts on here saying catching COVID is one thing. Long haul COVID and the impact of what COVID will do to you. And there's a lot of different things that they're finding out COVID is doing to people's bodies, is a whole other situation. So it may not kill you. And everybody's like, oh, worst case scenario, well, I'm not dead, I'm still here. It may not kill you, but it's going to leave you with some issues. And if you walk away with COVID with no issues at all, then you should consider yourself extremely fortunate, because you've only had a mild case of it. There's some people who report, oh, I can't smell for months afterwards. That will be the least of your worries. This young man, not yet 40 years old, like I said, otherwise the picture of health, is now in the hospital, I understand, struggling with kidney issues. The kidneys are starting to fail because of what it had to fight off with COVID. So these are real life implications, folks. So the COVID might not kill you, but if your kidneys are failing, if your lungs are failing, if you have all these other issues, you can rest assured that that's probably not a very good position for you to be in. So we'll continue to keep these people in our thoughts, regardless of what their vaccine position is. I think that, unfortunately, this is now going to be a very tough lesson for them to have to learn. All right, folks, it is school time for some people around here, Zoom time for school. So we are so tickled pink and excited to be doing that. So we've got homework assignments already printed off. We've got classroom assignments. Ooh, what's in the agenda today for school? We're going to be doing the PH sound. We're going to do SH, PH, and TH. We got some 3 and 4D matching. We're going to do some letter drawing here. So the school is awesome. They'll send some stuff through. And then we actually print off stuff as well on our own, because we subscribe to a couple online resources that allow us to do workbooks. So we're going to do some tracing of the letter B. Miss Gigi, we're going to do the letter B today. We're excited. We're going to do a Dear Santa letter. Ooh. Yeah, you get to tell Santa all the good things that you've done this year and what you want for Christmas, and you can sign it there. You can have that. So we'll work on that after your Zoom session. So, folks, this is what happens when you're a working mom and you got a child in isolation. You got to be able to switch from one hat to the next very, very quickly. So we're going to get little Missy ready. We have Christmas number fun. So she's going to find her way to Grandma's house by putting all the numbers in the order from the least to the greatest. Ooh, that sounds like fun. And then I think this was a duplicate print. Yes, folks, this is what we get to do. I'm going to stick all of these in her little folder. All right, folks, time to get this young lady on her Zoom session. I want you guys to have a fantastic day. Thank you, Miss Sue. Yeah, she does have the cutest little voice. And you know, when they're like a little bit younger, 1, 2, and you're always having to constantly reinforce, thank you, yes, please, like all the manners. I must say that at 5, she's pretty good about using her manners. When she's requesting something, when she's receiving something, she'll say, thank you, Mama. And you're just like, oh, the 4 years already have paid off of constantly reinforcing. And, you know, that's what it is, folks. I mean, you know, every day you just got to be at it. And I guess nobody ever said it was easy, but it's much easier to bend a tree when you've been bending it its entire life, right? You feel like you're not going to break it. Yes, ma'am. I don't know. Did something prick you in the hand? No? It looks a little bit swollen though. I don't know what that is. All right, folks. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the program today. We will see you guys tomorrow. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else. So booster shots are now available for 30 plus. By the way, we didn't get to the turtle poisoning and the scammers alert. We'll do the scammer one tomorrow. Because I think we definitely need to spend some time on that. It's really, really important that you guys know the types of scams that are being perpetrated. But let's just talk about let's spend just a couple minutes talking about the turtle poisoning. I have never heard of anybody being poisoned by turtle meat before. Is this a thing? We eat turtle meat here in the Caribbean all the time. We certainly eat it on this program. I eat turtle, although, if you saw my post on my personal page the other day, I don't like what they call the manablin, which is all the fatty parts of the turtle. I actually don't like that part of the turtle at all. I don't eat it. I don't eat any of those parts. I just want the lean meat. Even the lean meat that has like the little black parts on it, I'm like, ooh, please take those off. I don't want to see that. And I don't eat it. I don't mind a little bit of the gravy because, you gotta, otherwise turtles can be very dry. The lean meat can be quite dry. So yeah, I don't mind a little bit of the gravy, but I'm not eating the manablin. So I was kind of curious, have we ever heard of somebody being poisoned by turtle meat before? So this happened in Tanzania, I think it was. And it occurred to me, how do they cook it? Are they doing it differently? What am I missing? I don't know, but I wanted to throw that story out there. I'm sure that you guys saw it. I think a number of you commented on it. And it's just weird. Like, I don't know. I don't know how they're preparing it. I mean, obviously, we're doing it in a particular style. There are different ways to cook turtle. And I guess there are different parts of the turtle that you can even cook. So I just found this to be a very peculiar story. Like when I first saw it, I thought, someone is doing what now? Someone has died? 7 people die, including a young child, from eating turtle meat. Just super bizarre. All right. So anyway, it is what it is. Unfortunately for those people. Larry says, I tried turtle once and didn't like it. So Ling Ling, good morning. I do think it matters how the turtle is cooked and by whom. Because if you saw the dish that I had, it was all manablin. I don't know where the meat was. And so I think that maybe some people don't really know how to cook turtle meat. And I think the manablin, which I think is like the fin and the other parts, is probably the cheaper part of the turtle. So they throw a lot of that in the pot and not like the real meat. And that's the part that I just don't personally eat. So I'm not sure what happened to those people, but all the way in Tanzania, they died from eating turtle. So Oscar, good morning. So good to see you. He says, happy Tuesday. Have a fabulous day. And to all of you out there, please have yourselves a fabulous day as well and stay super safe. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Healthier spaces, healthier people. Electrostatic disinfection is a touchless cleaning technology. It provides a charge to a solution that electromagnetically sticks to a surface, providing 360-degree coverage. Rest assured, it is safe for electronics, food, and paper products. Reliable Industries, the clean you expect, the service you deserve.
Ang Balikbayan Boxes ay bumalik na sa Miracle Brokers. Ipadala sa iyong mga mahal sa buhay ang espesyal na pakete para sa Pasko o bagong taon na puno ng mga damit, laruan at marami pa. Sa halagang $65, ito ay isang deal na hindi mo matatalo. Ito ang huling shipment para sa 2021 at ang deadline ay katapusan ng Disyembre, kaya huwag mag-antala. Makipag-ugnayan sa pamamagitan ng WhatsApp. 345-916-0355 upang bilhin ang iyong kahon at magreserba ng espasyo sa barko. Sa pagtatapos ng 2021, gustong pasalamatan ng Miracle Brokers ang lahat sa Filipino community para sa iyong suporta sa mga nakaraang taon. Lubos naming pinapaalagahan ang iyong negosyo. Inaasahan namin ang patuloy na paglilingkod sa iyong komunidad sa 2022 at higit pa.
Accidents happen at any time, when you least expect it. Be prepared. Reach out to Recover Personal Injury Attorneys. We don't get paid until you recover.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.